Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is great to be here with you in Berlin today and to be on a panel with such a distinguished group of individuals. Madam President, it is delightful to be here with you today as well, and thank you for your very inspiring words. It's also great to be with a group of citizens who are concerned and worried about the future of their native country, about their fellow countrymen in terms of their security and in terms of their safety, and excited about the potential for change. When it comes to changing a regime, a government, that is the ultimate challenge. It reminds me of the great warrior Sun Tzu, and I paraphrase him when I say, Sun Tzu said, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you need not fear the outcome of 1,000 battles. If you know yourself but not your enemy, for every victory you will also suffer a defeat. And if you know neither yourself nor your enemy, then you are a fool and you will suffer defeat in every encounter. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we know who the enemy is. The enemy is not the MEK. The enemy is the current regime in Iran. As a result of the recent events that have transpired in Egypt and are now transpiring in Libya and a few other countries, I know there is considerable excitement about the potential for change. There's excitement in particular in countries where dissidents are jailed or killed, where democratic methods or techniques are unheard of, where individuals are tortured or imprisoned, and where it's commonplace to do that. It's also where people are oppressed. We're not sure exactly how that's going to play out in Libya today. And in fact, I find it quite appalling that the change that is taking place in Libya today, the international community is actually starting to support the resistance movement without really fully understanding what's behind that, and yet have not embraced the MEK, who has a secular platform that has just been outlined by Madam President. That is great irony, I find, in the way that that is working. From my perspective, the Iranian people could not be much worse off than they are with today's current regime. It is a very oppressive regime, as you know. It is one that is based on theocracy and autocracy with an extremist and an expansionist ideology. Iran's current regime is the largest exporter of terrorism in the world. Iran's current regime is seeking a nuclear capability. In every encounter the U.S. has had in the last 25 years, we have encountered current regime-backed terrorist groups in that part of the world, wherever we go. They are not there to fight for freedom. They are there to try to impose their will over the region. Yet, by having the MEK on the foreign terrorist organization list, we in the United States have weakened the support of the best organized internal resistance movement to counter a terrorist-oriented, anti-Western world, anti-democratic regime in the region. The MEK could potentially head a well-financed resistance movement not dependent on the international community, and the MEK is the only organized group that has a secular platform calling for a secular system in Iran. I would submit that we should embrace the ideals, the objectives, and the goals that have been laid out by Madam President, and we need to do that today. And that brings me to Camp Ashraf. Like my fellow speakers, I believe that we owe the people in Camp Ashraf a protection that is guaranteed by international principle to protect the people, and the U.S. promised protection to them. And now we watch as the Iraqis increase the numbers of loudspeakers, shouting obscenities at women up to 240. And I hope that today the Iraqi president notes that we note that he has allowed that to happen. It should not be allowed to stand. We owe the people in Camp Ashraf better than that. The current Iranian regime does not need to be modified. It does not need to be changed. It does not need to do anything but be replaced. And it needs to be replaced by a resistance movement led by the MEK, by a movement that has a platform of human rights, by a movement that has a platform of democracy. We should join in the U.S., our European allies, and our great friends from Great Britain and take the MEK off of the foreign terrorist organization list today. Iran has a much stronger and concentrated nationalism than any other country in the region, in my opinion. The people of Iran want a voice in their government. The oppression and inequality of women by the current regime is deplorable. Iranian women want equality. They want respect. They want the right to participate in all social, economic, and political activities. They want to live their lives in a productive manner and with dignity, which unfortunately is not the case under the current regime in Iran. The current regime's theocratic manner of declaring women as physically, intellectually, and physically inferior to men is counter to women's rights, and it is counter to women's expectations. Fortunately, Iranian women and Iranian youth have always displayed great physical and moral courage, and they've also displayed a willingness to accept great risk, to include imprisonment or even death in the pursuit of freedom. Removing the MEK from the FTO list and allowing them to continue to bring pressure on the current regime, combined with the strength and courage of those individuals in Iran who want their freedom, and especially the women and the youth of Iran, offers the best solution, in my opinion, for seeing Iran with a government that is sensitive to the needs of the people and one that provides the opportunity for all citizens to enjoy the basic human rights that the rest of the free world enjoys. In my opinion, in the United States, we have a great Secretary of State in Secretary Hillary Clinton. But for those below her that make the recommendations that must rise to her level to take the MEK off the terrorist list, I ask, what are you waiting for? Get the recommendation in front of the Secretary and let's get on with business. I know that the prayer of all of us here today is that democracy will prevail throughout the Middle East, but in such a manner that peace and stability will be maintained. And our hope is that the MEK will be taken off the FTO list so that they can lead the effort to bring about change in Iran for the sake of the Iranian people and for the sake of the international community. Thank you very much.
Uns abhalten in guten und schlechten Zeiten zusammen.